Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the KwaZulu-Natal Centre webinar and AGM, the webinar to be on hybrid approach to virtual power plants. Before we start, a few webinar considerations. Attendees are reminded to ensure your volume is turned up on your device. Ensure you have a stable internet connection. This will ensure the streaming and audio will run smoothly. Attendees can ask questions via the questions panel located within the GoToWebinar control panel, and by default, the control panel is located on the right-hand side of your screen. The chat function is reserved for webinar organizers and panelists to communicate with attendees. Attendees will not be able to chat with each other, however, are encouraged to ask questions. A recording of this webinar will be made available on the SAIEE YouTube channel, SAIEE TV, under the KZN Centre playlist. The QR code on your screen is the registration to the SAIEE TV channel. Please subscribe, it is free. A certificate of attendance will be issued a few weeks after this webinar once we have received the CPD validation credits from EXA. I'd like to introduce you now to our host tonight, Ms. Crystal Nagisha. Is employed by eThekwini Electricity MV/LV Operations as a chief engineer and has served the organization for the past 13 years with her involvement in various distribution automation projects and smart grid initiatives. Crystal holds a BSc Electronic Engineering degree from KwaZulu-Natal and graduated with a Master of Business Administration degree from the University of Pretoria's Gordon Institute of Business Science. She's registered as a professional engineer with the Engineering Council of South Africa and an active member of SEAGRA, serving on the SEAGRA SA Women in Energy Net Zero Initiative work group dealing with the climate change impacts on the energy sector. Over to you, Crystal.
Thank you, Mengs. Okay, thanks, Mengs, for that introduction, and good afternoon, attendees. Mengs, can you please confirm if my presentation is in presentation mode?
Yes, it is.
Okay, perfect. So good afternoon once again, and today we will be presenting our AGM for the first 10 to 15 minutes. And thereafter, I'll hand you over to Amira. Today, I will cover an overview of the past activities of our centre for the year 2024 and give you some insight into the engagements of our 4 portfolios. Our KZN Centre is made up of 4 focused portfolios under our committee management team, and that is the stakeholder engagement portfolio, the events and marketing, and our student chapter. These portfolios are focused on engaging with and providing value to our registered members, both our industry professionals and our student members. So I will take you through our year for 2024. Thereafter, I will cover our annual financial report for the year that has passed, and then move on to the election of our 2025 office bearers and our newly elected committee members. So our institute, our mission is to enhance the practice of electrical engineering in SA and the stature of our members through knowledge sharing, networking opportunities through our events, influence, education, and communication. We strive to provide leadership to the electrical and electronic engineering discipline to support our members in becoming more effective practitioners so that the quality of life of all communities in Southern Africa is uplifted. In KZN for the year 2024, we have seen a growth in our membership from 577 members to 682. For the year 2024, 20% of these were female members and 80%, our majority are still 80% registered male members. We've also had a promising 56% of our members professionally registered with EXA, and we hope to improve that this year. There has been significant growth in memberships for our student members with our newly launched 3 student chapters, one at MUT, UKZN, and the University of Zululand, and I will cover that a bit later on. In 2024, the KZN committee that supports the KZN region comprised of 18 senior industry professionals who are passionate and are dedicated to advancing the objectives of the SAIEE. So as I've mentioned earlier on, we have 4 focused portfolios in our center, and I'm firstly going to cover our stakeholder engagement portfolio, which is led by Dr. Mohammed Khan. This portfolio is committed to foster open communication and building relationships among private industry, public entities, parastatals, and academia. We have strong representation from private industry, and this is further reinforced by the active and visible representation from our sponsors. Our stakeholder engagement portfolio's focus areas include fostering a strong community, attracting new members, establishing partnerships to advance education and research in electrical, electronic, and computer engineering. And we had a very successful launch of our 3 student chapters represented here, as you can see. The first being Mangosuthu University of Technology. We've got the team on the left. In the middle, we've got our UKZN student chapter team. And on the right-hand side, our University of Zululand student chapter. Very energetic and excited students. I'm now going to move on to our events portfolio. Our events portfolio comprised of a dedicated team who facilitated a combination of factory visits, webinars, lectures, training, and conferences. This year proved to be an effective year, benefiting our members through many networking engagements. We, as a center, were able to host 5 webinars, and in June 2024, we hosted our leadership conference, the Innovate to Elevate conference. It was a great success. We hosted approximately 100 delegates, and our presentations focused on digitalization, energy sustainability, and engineering leadership. We also had an inspiring keynote presented by Mr. Mpini Mabunda, based on his book, The Take Charge, and every member walked away with an ambitious book and a commitment to driving change in our industry. Our team later on in the year, in August, collaborated with CISA, and we hosted a Women's Day conference, which focused on holistic wellness with the aim of promoting women participation in our sector. And as you've seen at the beginning, we have 20% female registered members and 80% male registered members, and we hope to improve that in the years going forward. Our student chapters have also been very busy this year and have attended various factory visits to Vexilla, eThekwini Electricity, and we also had our local manufacturers, Art Solar, invite us over for a tour of their facilities in Pinetown. Our students have also engaged with Standard Bank to promote financial literacy for our students, preparing them for their professional careers, and including engagements with EXA on professional registrations. In August, we had our student chapters collaborating with our SAIEE members and CGRE. We attended the KZNX Science Expo hosted by Eskom, the Expo for Young Scientists. It was a vibrant celebration of young talent. Many of our members and students were judges. They served as judges at the Expo. There were approximately 236 learners showcasing their innovative projects. It was very inspiring to see our members actively recognizing and celebrating the creativity of these young innovators. Our student chapters have also been involved in various STEM outreach programs, career days, that are designed to bridge the educational divide for disadvantaged learners. They have participated in hosting training sessions on coding at high schools, and we are very proud of the efforts that they have been involved with in the past year. Our center has also hosted an RTDS training, a 2-day training, real-time digital simulator training. And the attendees were able to build and run a number of power system simulation cases, showing the capabilities and limitations of the RTDS simulator. They were further exposed to various case studies on the topic, and it was a very engaging 2 or 3 days. We were also able to validate our training that was held with 2 CPD credits. I've also mentioned earlier on our launch of our 3 student chapters, and towards the end of the year, we hosted a very successful awards gala in November. We recognized and celebrated success of our professionals within KZN, and we are very grateful to our sponsors for making this event possible. The highlight of the evening was the recognition of excellence across various categories. And we first awarded and recognized the best students at each of our universities in KZN, at UKZN, MET, and University of Zululand. And the best student award was given to Jashiran Yengopal at UKZN, Sifundu Shlope at the University of Zululand, and Luyanda Basane at MET. We also celebrated the Significant Project Award, which was awarded to Zutari run by Mr. Richard L. Shaga's team, as well as the Young Achiever Award that was presented to Ms. Viroshni Gandhi. We celebrate these individuals for their success in our industry, and we look forward to our 2025 event. I'm now going to move over to our marketing portfolio, which was led by Omer Rajajbai in 2024. We are delighted to report that our events were a resounding success, thanks to a large part of our generous support from our esteemed sponsors, and our marketing team have been very involved in reaching out and partnering with many of our industry partners. Our sponsor contributions played a vital role in enabling us to deliver engaging and informative, memorable experiences for our attendees. And many of our sponsors are listed here, and we've also officially launched our LinkedIn page. So those of you that have not registered, please log on and follow us. And many of our events are also published in our What Now magazine. Some of the events that I've already mentioned to you have been CPD accredited and validated through the SAIEE and EXA. And we are very proud as a center to provide these events and engagements for our members to allow them to participate. So we encourage all our members to participate and gain those CPD points, credits. I'm now going to quickly move over to our finances for the year 2024. We started off the year with a balance brought forward from the year 2023, 24,291. And each year we are allocated an allocation from our head office, and in 2024 we were allocated 129,600. And our current balance as of February this year is 18,873.7 cents. Many of our events for the year are sponsored by our industry partners, and a lot of the collaboration and networking opportunities that we've had and the engagements we've had have allowed us to create value for our members through these partnerships and raising sponsorships towards these events. And some of our larger events were the Leadership Conference, our Women's Day Conference, and our Awards Gala. Looking forward to our proposed budget for 2025, we're looking at approximately 330,000 for the year. And we hope to encourage our students to participate and develop as they enter the professional careers. And we've allocated 40,000 towards our student chapters. Our events for the year, 250,000. Our salaries for the year would estimated to approximately 30,000 and our marketing at 10,000. So we hope to raise much of our funds through sponsorships as we are an NPO. Okay, I'd like to now present to you our 2025 team carried over from 2024, and thereafter I'll share with you our new elected team. So I will be the current chairperson for the year 2025. Our deputy chairperson is Dr. Mohammed Khan. Our elected treasurer is Mr. Lwendran Govender. Our stakeholder engagement portfolio is made up of 4 members, led by Dr. Mohammed Khan, Mr. Shepard Nkosi, Dr. Rob Stephen, and Mr. J. Kalicharan, whom are all past chairmen. Our student representatives are Dr. Oni Olawafeni, Dr. Katleho Malloy, Mr. Nduniso Masondo, and Mr. John Mushenia. Our events portfolio, Mr. Lwendran Govender and Ms. Roshni Gandhan will be assisting us in this portfolio. Our marketing portfolio is led by Omera Jajbai and assisted by Mr. Nishal Pranlal. Our elected treasurer, as I mentioned earlier, for the year 2025 is Lwendran Govender. Our elected secretary for the year 2025 is Jackie Govender, who is our newly appointed secretary. Our signatories for the year 2025 remain as Lwendran, myself, and Mr. Nishal Pranlal. So as I've mentioned the names earlier on, now you can put a face to the names. This is our team for 2025. I am proud to announce our newly elected members on our committee for the year 2025. And I'd like to introduce you to Ms. Sanile Mohole from Eskom. She is a senior engineer. Mrs. Arisa Sohan Samjawan, also a senior engineer from Eskom. Mr. Nati Ndlela, the managing director for Afri Electrical Consulting Engineers. And Mr. John Mushenia, who will be joining us from the University of Zululand. I would also like to highlight our new incoming chairpersons for our student chapters, Mr. Kodani Garrison for the University of Zululand, Tutoko Zulu from the University of KwaZulu-Natal, and Nduduzo Zama from Mangosuthu University of Technology. Welcome and congratulations on being elected, and we look forward to having you on our team. To conclude this afternoon, the AGM, the year 2024 for our KZN Centre emphasized strategic leadership, innovation, and developing our future professionals, particularly in the areas of energy security and sustainability. Energy security is critical today as global challenges like geopolitical tensions, climate change, and technological advancements shape the future of energy. We must adopt a multifaceted approach to secure energy supplies and ensure equitable access. And through our events, our webinars, conferences, industry tours, we've highlighted the importance of our professionals leading the development of these sustainable solutions, utilizing and using digitization and AI. So I would like to encourage you at this point to join and become a member if you have not already done so. Update your details to ensure that you receive communication. And to our members, register your profiles on our website and reach out to our training academy for CPD accredited courses. The details are on the screen. Thank you, and that is the end of our AGM. It now leads us to this afternoon's insightful presentation on hydrogen for a sustainable tomorrow, evaluating the financial and technical dimensions of green hydrogen production. I'd now like to introduce you to our speaker for this afternoon, Amira Jajbai. Amira Jajbai is an electrical engineer at Zutari, currently pursuing her MSc in electrical engineering. She has an excellent understanding of electrical engineering concepts, especially power systems and renewable energy, with exceptional power system protection and solar power knowledge. Amira, I think I've just made a mistake in your title for your presentation, but you can introduce that to the members and the attendees online. Okay, yes, it is a hybrid approach to virtual power plants. I've mixed up my presentations, but thank you and welcome, okay. Amira. And we look forward to your presentation. You can put it into your presentation. Perfect.
Okay, thanks so much, Crystal, and no problem. Those that are looking for the green hydrogen webinar that was presented by my great colleague a few weeks ago. So that is available on the SAIEE YouTube if you're looking for that. But today I will be presenting to you on a hybrid approach to virtual power plants, integrating renewables, BESS, and forecasting in South African smart grids. So before we start, this topic was actually presented by my supervisor, Dr. Khan, Dr. Landry, and myself at SAUPEC. And that paper is now available on IEEE Explore, so you will get full insights into what we presented on IEEE Explore. So today I want to focus more on VPPs and the South African energy landscape. So let's get right into it. Okay. What does the current energy landscape look like for South Africa? As we already know, South Africa's electricity supply is dominated by coal-fired power generation, which accounts to about 80% of our electricity generation. These power stations are primarily owned and operated by Eskom, but a minority of the power demand is met through municipalities, imports, and independent power producers. As we can see, and through the surprise of many South Africans, only 1.6% of our energy contribution comes from solar, with majority coming from nuclear and wind, but this will be changing in the future. Okay, everybody already knows what load shedding is, and we experienced it, but I think it's important to actually put this into perspective. So rolling blackouts, which is load shedding, and it's classified into stages, where each stage represents a gigawatt of electricity demand that is required to go offline. So let's put that into perspective. 1 gigawatt can supply 876,000 households continuously for a year. That's stage 1 load shedding. And in 2023, we went up to stage 6, which was quite critical. It reduced in 2024, and this is for many reasons. Eskom's generation operational recovery plan, maintenance and repairs, restoration of units, reduced unplanned outages, and a collective effort, basically. The increase of renewable energy should not be viewed as a threat by Eskom, but rather it presents an opportunity to upgrade infrastructure and facilities that align with the future of energy. Speaking of Eskom's upgrades, a genuine concern for South Africa is grid constraints. Following the rollout of the Renewable Energy Independent Power Producer REAP with Windows 6, it became apparent that there is no more grid capacity available in key areas for connecting new generation projects. Eskom confirmed that there is no longer grid capacity available in the Northern Cape, Western Cape, Eastern Cape, and parts of Free State. So this means that new projects will need to focus in areas where there is capacity, like KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng, which are less desirable in terms of solar irradiance and wind. But this is expected because the traditional grid was never designed to accommodate the addition of renewable energy. However, there are changes being made to this. We are all aware of Eskom's through the National Transmission Company of South Africa, they plan to invest approximately 200 billion rand by 2032 to expand and modernize the national grid. And I think this is really important as to why we need to understand the transition to smart grids and virtual power plants and to keep up with energy storage and the future of energy. Which brings me to my next slide. Despite there being not enough grid capacity, renewable energy generation is increasing significantly through the years, as we can see. And this is because South Africa has great potential for renewable energy, particularly wind and solar. Our country receives some of the highest solar irradiance levels in the world, making solar a viable option. And we also have great potential for wind in our coastal regions. And of course, to provide that diversification, there's also hydropower, biomass, and other renewable energies that contribute. A reason for this surge in renewables, one of which could be accounted to for the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy that amended Schedule 2 in 2021, where now the revision, we need licensing from not from 10 megawatts, but from 100 megawatts. And we saw IPPs jump at this opportunity and hence the increase of renewable generation in South Africa. So renewables is only increasing. Okay, I just wanted to also include the slide. This is basically also what you would see in our IEEE paper. And this is just emphasizing the importance of not just renewables, but also BESS. So if we look at the highlighted green graph, basically what's happening here in blue is our irradiance levels, varying solar on the left, well, both graphs. And on the left, if we look at our voltage and our current, it's fluctuating with solar. So this has an impact on the grid. But with the addition of battery energy storage systems on the right, you can see that this BESS brings much more stability to our grid. So there's no question of whether we should be incorporating energy storage systems into our grid. Energy storage systems play an important role in managing the characteristics of renewable energy sources. Energy storage systems are crucial for integrating renewable energy into the grid. There's several types of energy storage, which we all know is the most common is lithium-ion batteries, and they are common for a good reason. They are widely used because of their high density and their efficiency. There's also pumped hydro storage, which is another good option that utilizes water reservoirs to store and generate electricity, as well as thermal storage, such as molten salts used in concentrated solar power plants to store heat for electricity generation. In South Africa, projects like the Eskom battery energy storage system is already making strides in this area. If we look at the energy storage system generation across Africa from 2017 to 2024, we can see that there is a drastic increase over the past few years. If we look from 2022 to 2023 alone, energy storage systems almost tripled in capacity and then increased tenfold to 2024. So this is here to stay. The next slide brings me to a topic I'm very passionate about. If we look at the integration of renewable energy storage and renewable energy and energy storage, we can speak about smart grids. Now, there's always confusion as to what is a smart grid, what classifies a grid smart, or how do we know what is a smart grid actually? In simple terms, a smart grid is a modern version of our traditional grid, but it's smarter, faster, and more flexible. It uses digital technology, sensors, communication systems, and real-time data to monitor the flow of electricity. Unlike the old conventional traditional grids, which is one directional, smart grids are bidirectional. It's interactive and it's intelligent. It can predict, respond to changes, and self-adjust when needed. Just for example, just an example on that is if a solar farm is generating excess electricity or a battery needs to discharge during peak demand, the smart grid can coordinate that automatically without waiting for human intervention. And this is exactly what enables virtual power plants to function by linking together distributed energy resources like rooftop solar, wind farms, batteries, and even small appliances and managing them as if they were one large flexible power plant. What do smart grids mean for South Africa? A smart grid for South Africa is not just energy efficiency, it means resilience. It allows us to integrate renewables, reduce load shedding, and also empower communities to participate in the energy system. It's really the backbone of clean, reliable, and future-ready energy transition. The integration of renewable energy and energy storage systems in smart grids is essentially creating a virtual power plant. Now, whenever I speak to people, there's a lot of confusion surrounding virtual power plants. They want to know, is it replacing our existing switching stations? Is it replacing our substations? How is it working? There's confusion. Think of a virtual power plant like Uber for electricity, okay? So instead of one big energy provider like Eskom doing all the work, there's lots of smaller providers like solar farms, solar homes, wind farms, battery systems, electric vehicles, smart gears. There's so much, and they are all coordinated using artificial intelligence and digital platforms. And that essentially is creating a virtual power plant, almost like a metering and management smart system. These systems can send energy to the grid when there's a demand, or even reduce the consumption when the supply is tight, all automatically. A central control platform monitors and optimizes this power flow, which is essentially our virtual power plant that ensures stability, cost savings, and cleaner energy use. A virtual power plant typically includes renewable generation, like rooftop solar, solar farms, wind turbines, biogas, whatever it is. It includes energy storage like batteries, whether it's your batteries at home, your businesses. It includes flexible loads, smart appliances like geysers, HVAC. It includes communication systems like IoT devices, smart meters, and sensors. It's basically like a central management platform, a software that forecasts, dispatches, and controls power flow in real time. So all of this creates a digital ecosystem. Does that mean we're getting rid of Eskom's existing transmission and distribution? Not at all. We are using it, we are optimizing it in locations where it can be used through virtual power plants, and we are making the most of these systems. We're not getting rid of it, but we are optimizing it. The difference between traditional power plants and VPPs is that traditional power plants are centralized. They are very expensive to build and it's not flexible. But VPPs are distributed, they're scalable, and they can also be rapidly deployed. While traditional power plants can take years to build, a VPP can be rolled out in months by aggregating existing solar rooftops, batteries, and smart devices. Most importantly, virtual power plants put power in the hands of the people, literally and figuratively. Additionally, data analytics and forecasting tools integrated into the VPP provide users with detailed insights into their energy storage demand and projection. So these are accessible through human-machine interface, featuring easy-to-use dashboards. Currently, there are VPPs that have been implemented successfully as pilot programs in countries like Sweden, Norway, Belgium, and even the US. How does a VPP actually work? So basically, the virtual power plant software collects real-time data from all these sources. It balances their output and it can send power to the grid or store it based on demand and prices. By managing how much power each source provides, A virtual power plant can support grid stability, makes efficient use of renewable energy, and can even respond to peak demand. It's much like a traditional power plant, but decentralized with flexible resources. VPPs go beyond decentralization. It offers flexibility because it can quickly adjust to changes in demand generation. So it's not waiting for a manual system operator to do something. It's automatic. It responds on its own. It's efficient. It reduces losses by generating power closer to where it's needed. And it definitely saves cost. It avoids costly grid upgrades by using existing infrastructure. And of course, it integrates renewable energy, which balances intermittent sources and integrates BESS and things like that. And it provides grid stability essentially because it supports the grid by storing the energy and providing power during the peak periods. So there are several advantages of VPPs. If we look at this is the US potential of virtual power plant capacity. By 2030, an estimated total of 61.9 gigawatts is estimated to be virtual energy. Countries like Germany, Australia, and of course the US, as you can see, is already using VPPs to reduce the grid stress, cut costs, and integrate renewables. In South Africa, I will also present a case study on where we've started this. We can't talk about virtual power plants without talking about advanced forecasting models. It's like the heart of virtual power plants, in my opinion, at least. Just some background on advanced forecasting models. It's a lot like artificial intelligence, and it can be very challenging to predict without forecasting. So forecasting really assists us in making these virtual power plants smart because we will be able to forecast weather data, load data, financial forecasting. So I think forecasting is essential in virtual power plants. And essentially, if we use forecasts, they can actually alleviate negative impacts on the required spinning reserves for reliable operation of the grid. They definitely reduce the total cost of the integration of renewable energy because it becomes more efficient and optimized if we can predict our renewable energy systems, when we're going to have solar irradiance, when the wind is greater, and things like that. There are different types of advanced forecasting models. From my research, I've realized and noticed that LSTM, long short-term memory networks, are one of the most accurate for weather forecasting. It's basically a type of recurrent neural networks that is specifically designed to model time series data so that it makes them particularly suitable for renewable energy forecasting. So basically, the model excels at learning historical data and then making predictions based on long-term dependencies. And this is crucial for forecasting solar irradiance or wind patterns over time. As you can see, there's different types of forecasting. So my research focuses on weather forecasting, but you can forecast energy generation forecasting, price forecasting, consumption patterns forecasting. So advanced forecasting really is, it's a growing field. It includes machine learning, artificial intelligence, and it's highly useful for us in the renewable energy space as well. Just the different types of advanced forecasting models. There's statistical models, machine learning, deep learning, all having their own advantages and disadvantages. But what I have noticed from my research simulations is that deep learning seems to be very accurate for weather forecasting. But of course, in time, we are also researching other methods as well. The time horizons for energy forecasting. So the time period over which forecasts are generated is basically known as the time horizon or time scale. And basically, as we can see here, there's different items we can forecast over a different length of time. So we get very short-term forecasting, which is like on an hour basis. We get short-term forecasting, which is bi-weekly, medium-term forecasting, which could be yearly up to 3 years, and long-term, which is 10 years, 20 years. In terms of energy purchasing, all types of forecasting is applicable. Transmission and distribution is slightly from short-term to long-term. Demand-side management all forecasting is applicable. Operations and maintenance is more on the short-term forecasting side. And of course, for financial planning, we want to look at long-term forecasting methods. Just some insights on these very short-term, medium-term, and long-term forecasting methods. There are different methods, deterministic and probabilistic methods. So we are currently exploring some of these, like the statistical methods. We are exploring ARIMA, SAIEE, machine learning. We're exploring support vector regression, SVR, deep learning. We are exploring LSTM, and basically we are comparing as well as hybrid methods, and we are basically comparing this in our research on in terms of renewable weather forecasting, which is the most accurate. And here's the thing about forecasting. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be accurate enough to be able to know when to generate enough electricity, energy, when to store, when to charge, when to discharge. So forecasting is never going to be perfect, but it definitely improved drastically over the years. Another key aspect is load forecasting, which helps to predict the demand for electricity at various times. This allows the virtual power plants to manage the distribution of energy and reduce potential power shortages or surplus. Predicting future energy demand also supports better coordination between energy generation and consumption, optimizing systems and making energy storage like BESS more efficient in balancing fluctuating supply and demand. So advanced forecasting methods and models are really very useful, especially with VPPs. When combined, accurate weather and load forecastings provide VPPs with the ability to make better decisions on when to dispatch energy or when to store it for later use. So this can significantly reduce cost and improve grid reliability. And this has been already proven and done in many countries. So this is maybe a new concept for South Africa, but definitely a tried and tested method for many parts of the world. There's many techniques, as we already discussed, like machine learning. There's also, we've covered LSTM, SAIEE. Okay, so these are the commonly used ones for historical, for weather data and load data forecasting. Ultimately, advanced forecasting in virtual power plants helps create a more resilient and efficient system. They reduce our dependence on fossil fuel-based generation and improves the integration of renewable energy into the grid, which ultimately optimizes the system. Okay. One of the projects, or I think one of the only projects of virtual power plants that is currently being built in South Africa, it is really a state-of-the-art project and a milestone for us as a country. And this information is available on EDF website. It's the Umuyolanga project. Umuyolanga is basically made up of two sites. Avondale, which is in the Northern Cape, supplying 115 megawatts of PV and 30 megawatt times 3 hours of BESS, and Das's Ridge, which is a wind farm in the Eastern Cape. So they are 900 kilometers apart. They have a contracted capacity of 75 megawatts. How is Eskom managing this? How is it going to be done? Basically through a virtual power plant. So at any given time, Umuyolanga must supply 75 megawatts. It is utilizing existing infrastructure. I mean, where are we going to find that space in South Africa where we can build 115 megawatt PV with optimum irradiation as well as optimum wind, 63 megawatts in the same location? Very highly unlikely, especially with all our constraints. And that is why we are utilizing a virtual power plant. So we're utilizing existing infrastructure, whatever's in the Northern Cape, whatever's in the Eastern Cape. We're managing this through a virtual power plant and we are supplying the energy. This unique combination of wind and solar resources with batteries enables Umuyolanga to provide 75 megawatts on demand from 5 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. as per the requirements of the PPA. And it really demonstrates that renewable energy can provide reliable, dispatchable power at a competitive price. To achieve this, the batteries at Das's Ridge will generally charge from the wind energy at night discharging the power in the morning until the sun rises. And then the solar installation at Avondale will supply bulk of the energy during the day, supplemented by the wind energy from Duss's Ridge. Excess solar energy will be used to charge the batteries at Avondale, which will discharge after sunset. So this is a sophisticated energy management system that will give instructions to assets across both sides to optimize the power supply in real time, depending on weather forecasts and ESCOM's requirements. So you can see that advanced forecasting virtual power plants, it's already being used, and it's really going to be the future, in my opinion. And just some facts about this project. It's a low carbon electricity. The low carbon electricity produced will help to meet the electricity needs of 120,000 households over 20 years, based on ESCOM's residential consumption of an average 3.3 kilowatt hour per household. So I think this is a really, really amazing initiative, and definitely moving in the right direction for renewable energy, BESS, and VPPs in South Africa. So I know I am very excited to see this project go live. Okay, basically, through our virtual power plant, this graph that you're looking at is basically, it shows a simulation of how the virtual power plant meets buyer demand using solar, wind, and battery energy storage systems throughout the day. So if we look at the black line, that is the buyer demand. So we can see during peak times, morning and afternoon, demand is high. The orange graph is the solar. We can see it generates most electricity during midday and zero at night. The wind, there's really no pattern for that because wind is intermittent in this, it's all over any time during the day. And then the red line is our net supply to the buyer. So if we look at the battery, the green line, we can see that in the mornings when demand is high, there's no solar production, wind is fluctuating, our batteries are discharging to assist the grid. When solar is high, our demand is low, our batteries are charging. That negative green in that graph is actually the batteries charging. And again, when our demand is high, it is discharging. And that's essentially how the virtual power plant will work. So this setup demonstrates how the virtual power plant manages fluctuating renewable sources and dispatches stored energy from the battery, maintaining consistent power delivery to the buyer. There are, of course, several benefits of integrating virtual power plants. Okay, if we start with the first one, increased energy security and reliability. If we aggregate distributed resources, think about it. Virtual power plants can help balance supply and demand more effectively. It reduces the frequency and impact of load shedding, and they can provide a more resilient energy system that can withstand disruptions. It definitely optimizes renewable energy. South Africa is abundant in renewable energy potential, particularly solar and wind. So VPPs allow us to better utilize these resources where they are available, and also smooths out the intermittency by optimizing energy storage and dispatch. In terms of economic growth and job creation, of course, VPPs can they can stimulate economic growth by creating jobs in the renewable energy and energy storage sectors, and they also reduce the overall cost of electricity production, benefiting both consumers and businesses. Goes without saying, it's using renewable energy storage systems, so our carbon emissions are definitely reduced. One aspect that's also important is it provides VPPs can improve energy access for rural and off-grid communities, where our traditional grid infrastructure is either insufficient or too expensive to develop. So this will like harbor inclusive growth and support communities' sustainable development, because we can create off-grid systems and through virtual power plants still provide reliable energy to these communities. And of course, it reduces our dependence on fossil fuels and mitigates carbon and reduces carbon emissions. In the long term, VPPs definitely lower energy costs by reducing the need for expensive peaking power plants, and they optimize the energy mix. So this will make it more affordable for households and businesses. Of course, with just like any other system comes its challenges. The biggest challenge being grid infrastructure limitation. South Africa's grid, as we know, was primarily designed for centralized power generation, and VPPs require a more flexible grid infrastructure to manage the variability and intermittency of renewable energy sources like solar and wind. So it's very important that we upgrade and modernize the grid to accommodate these decentralized energy systems. And that is definitely a significant challenge. Virtual power plants integration requires clear regulations that facilitate the participation of distributed energy resources in the market. So South Africa's energy policies need and the regulations need to evolve to incorporate VPPs to allow for smoother integration with existing power markets. And of course, to operate efficiently, VPPs can rely on accurate and timely data from distributed energy resources. But especially in South Africa, we face challenges in collecting and managing this data, particularly in rural areas. The accurate forecasting of renewable generation and demand is also essential for virtual power plants to optimize energy dispatch. Our forecasting can only be as efficient as the data that we're receiving. So that's something very important that we need to look at. And there's always investment and financial barriers. So despite these obvious benefits, there's many hurdles when it comes to virtual power plant projects in terms of financing. There are concerns over long-term investments and the investment returns and financial viability of these systems, particularly in the context of South Africa because of our economic challenges and high energy costs. I think that one of the biggest challenges will obviously, because it is a digital system, will be our cybersecurity. So when we integrate these diverse technologies from solar to storage to demand response, it can be complex. And VPPs obviously involve a large amount of data transfer, which makes them susceptible to cybersecurity threats, which is a growing concern globally. So that is something that's a gap, and we should also focus on cybersecurity. I know there are mainly engineers on this call, but I think when we speak about renewable energy and energy storage systems, we cannot neglect our international policies. And just an overview for everyone, where does South Africa stand in terms of our international climate policy agreements and investments? So we are quite fortunate, actually. South Africa actively engages in international climate policies and initiatives that aims to address climate change and foster sustainable development. Okay, so this table basically just shows key agreements and commitments between South Africa and international organizations. The first being UNFCCC. South Africa is a member where we negotiate aspects regarding climate change. The Paris Agreement is one that's very important that South Africa agreed to, which is the nationally determined contributions that aims at reducing greenhouse gas emissions and adapting to climate impact. One of the big ones that is more commonly known between engineers is the Just Energy Transition, which actually initiated at COP26. And many countries have actually pledged support for South Africa towards this transition from fossil fuels to renewable energy. Although, of course, now we know that the United States has withdrawn from this partnership. But with that being said, I think, and the fear that's being raised in everyone, that should be all the more reason that we push towards meeting these goals and not just give up. So I really hope that we can contribute even more to our just energy transition. And then we have the global goal on adaptation. So that was welcomed at COP28, that discusses finances where developed countries will basically assist developing countries in terms of the climate change and renewable goals. In terms of international investments, before we go that, actually, South Africa is also a member of the International Solar Alliance, which there's 120 countries that are also part of this, and they basically promote the use of and the consumption of solar energy to reduce its dependence on fossil fuels. In terms of international investments and initiatives, we have the European Union's Global Gateway Investment in March 2025. So very recently, the EU announced a 4.7 billion euros investment package focusing on the just energy transition, vaccine manufacturing, and enhancing digital and physical connectivity. So that is very interesting what we received funding for. The UAE investments signed an agreement with South Africa to invest in rail infrastructure and green energy projects to support our country's transition from coal to cleaner energy sources. Altera Climate Fund pledged 30 billion, an initiative to help developing countries. We have the Green Climate Fund that includes South Africa, which includes $3.5 billion. So as you can see, there are many investments. Okay, there's many. The world is investing in our drive, in our transition to renewable energies, and we need this. South Africa needs this investment over the next. And over the next decades, our investments are actually massive. It's estimated at approximately 1.5 trillion rand for the energy transition. So while some engineers may feel like it's not needed, this is the way that the world is moving. You've seen the stats in terms of BESS, energy storage, renewable energy in South Africa, the funding that's being invested into our renewable energy, our climate change policies, our initiatives. So we need to adapt to this. We need to try and lead this initiative. We need to move in this direction. And virtual power plants definitely offer a cost-effective way to maximize the value of already installed solar, PV, wind farms, battery systems, and even smart load controls without waiting years for utility scale bills. So very, very interesting times available. Ahead, sorry, not available. I really hope this presentation has in some way given you insights and cleared misunderstandings to virtual power plants, advanced forecasting models, and BESS, and also has given you some insights on what these systems and how these systems can play a role in stabilizing South Africa's energy grid. While BESS alone can smooth the output of renewable energy and improve short-term grid reliability, compensating for renewable energy intermittency, the integration of virtual power plants and advanced artificial intelligence-driven forecasting models optimizes energy management and dispatch on a larger scale. By using these technologies, we as a country can address the challenges of renewable energy intermittency and enhance grid stability, moving closer to achieving a smart grid. So if you do read our paper available on IEEE Explore, you will see that our findings suggest that the developments should focus on refining forecasting models, expanding the use of VPPs to ensure that South Africa's energy infrastructure is prepared for the increasing renewable energy penetration. This hybrid system not only ensures a more reliable energy supply, but it also supports the country's goals towards a more sustainable, reliable, and resilient energy grid. As engineers, we are the cutting edge of a revolution in the energy sector. And something that I truly believe in is the global goal of triple renewables and double efficiency, developed by the Global Renewable Alliance, which challenges us to triple our renewable capacity and double efficiency in the next by 2030, while ensuring a just energy transition. So I think it's very important that, all of us as engineers, we play such a big role. And as renewable engineers and in the space, it's not just about tripling the renewables and doubling the efficiency. It's also ensuring that no one is left behind. So every project that we are involved in plays a bigger role. And I think that's really important. And through virtual power plants, I do believe that we can achieve this goal. It's not just an ambitious target, it's a call for action. And in South Africa, we are presented with a unique opportunity to actually innovate and lead this transition in Africa. So that's definitely something that we should think about. And yeah, I think that is it from my side. I really hope you guys have enjoyed this presentation and learned something new today. That's just our references. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for your attention. Are there any questions?
Thank you so much, Amira, for that insightful presentation. I think it's, I'm just going to wait a bit for questions from our attendees. But I think you've raised quite a remarkable topic today in terms of virtual power plants. I think there's a lot of opportunity in South Africa with regards to our ongoing energy crisis and the resultant load shedding that you alluded to. And I think we can't forget that we have excellent renewable energy resource and improvements in BESS, battery energy storage systems. This definitely creates a favorable environment for VPPs, virtual power plants. And I think for me, the two things that actually stand out that you mentioned over and over, peak demand and grid stability. And I think for me, these are the two things that, you know, we can definitely achieve through VPPs. I'd like to remind, and I think also the flexibility that it offers in terms of dispatching energy sources from various energy sources at any particular time. I think that flexibility definitely gives us, or would give Eskom, if implemented, that VPP, the case study that you've discussed, definitely puts them at a competitive advantage. Okay, so I'd like to remind our attendees to look at on your panel on the side, on your handouts, we have our What Now magazine that you can download, as well as our KZN conference, which will be held on the 28th of May. So if you would like to attend, it's free for members to attend. Please download the invite and register to attend our conference. Okay, we have a few questions, Amira, from the attendees. And the first one is from Becky. Would you be able to make this presentation available to our participants?
Yeah, definitely. We can make the and it will be available on SAIEE YouTube channel as well.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So our next question with regards to your presentation is from Tiara Chetty. She firstly says, thank you, Amira, for such an insightful presentation. I really appreciated the clarity with which you explain the concepts, especially something as complex as VPPs. I have two questions, okay? So she's got two questions. Are VPPs truly feasible in the South African context, or is it still more of a theoretical concept at this stage?
Okay, that's a great question. Is
That's
there
the
another
first
one? Okay, let me
maybe go with the first one, and then I'll let you know what the second one after.
Okay, now that's a great question actually. The financial viability of virtual power plants compared to our traditional or centralized power plants is actually one of the biggest advantages, especially for a country like South Africa. Renewables, BESS, VPPs, forecasting, they aren't just buzzwords. They really are the building blocks of a resilient energy future. When we compare virtual power plants to traditional infrastructure, the financial case for virtual power plants is actually incredibly compelling, especially in developing economies where capital is limited and even energy access is uneven. So traditional power plants, if we look at like coal or nuclear, they require billions of rands in upfront capital, okay, and long development timelines. And they are centralized infrastructure that's vulnerable to breakdowns. Whereas if we look at VPPs, we are using existing assets like rooftop solar, home batteries, smart appliances. VPPs require minimal new infrastructure and they are modular, okay? And they can scale up gradually and they definitely have faster deployment. So it happens, VPPs can be built in inverted commas in months rather than years. If we do look at a per kilowatt basis, virtual power plants have been proven, according to research and where they have been deployed to be cheaper than building a new coal or gas plant. Okay, plus they reduce the transmission losses and they support grid resilience. And I think it was a study conducted in Australia and California. So they are already earning revenue through their VPPs, through demand response programs, ancillary services, and energy arbitrage. So I definitely think that VPPs not only help avoid costly load shedding, but they definitely also unlock revenue for the participants. Whether that's households, businesses, you can sell, store energy. So it's definitely potential for creating a new decentralized energy economy. And it, according to research and existing projects deployed across the world, it is 100% feasible. I hope I answered your question.
Okay, I'm going to move over to part 2 of the question.
Okay.
So how does the financial viability of VPPs compare to that of traditional power plants?
Okay, I think I've answered that part
Yeah, I think
already.
second part, yeah. Okay, now that's fine. Okay, so there's been a lot of queries to have your presentation, Amira. So yeah, so you can download the presentation or watch it on our YouTube channel, on the SAIEE YouTube channel. Pumalani, yes, there will be CPD points for today's webinar. So please keep a lookout for that. Okay, we have another question from Namo Dlamini. What do you anticipate to be the role of AI in making the grid and dispatch forecasting more smarter with the growth in VPPs on the grid?
Oh, artificial intelligence is definitely going to play a really big role. I mean, if we look at advanced forecasting models, that is a type of artificial intelligence. So that is definitely something that is going to be a growing space within the sector. Sorry, I didn't fully catch that question.
Yeah, so in making the grid and dispatching, forecasting more smarter with the growth in VPPs on the grid.
That's definitely going to contribute to grid stability and reliability, because now with forecasting, we can actually predict our renewable sources and our demands. So now that we know when we are going to receive more solar or less solar, for example, then we know when to dispatch our BESS. For example, during peak times or when the time of use tariff is higher. So this is definitely going to contribute to grid stability and assisting the grid actually in meeting demand and supply.
Okay, yeah, thanks for that, Amira. So you said you discussed the case study on with the Eskom for the 75 megawatts of dispatchable power. How far, I didn't catch, how far are they into the project and by when do they anticipate completion?
Yeah, so though I don't know if I can say those details, but from
okay.
my knowledge, it's quite far, and everything that I have displayed here today is available actually on the Umilanga website. So if you do Google about the virtual power plant project in South Africa, then you will see information that they have released on their website. Yes, you can find that more information on the EDF website. I don't think I'm in a position to comment on that here.
No, it's fine. Okay, I think that's all for this afternoon, Amira. Thank you very much. We appreciate your time and your research that you have shared today. I think the audience and attendees have appreciated that and look forward to your presentation slides and more on the project at I'm just going to say Umilanga project.
Yes.
So we're
Thank you so
looking
much,
forward to
Crystal.
that.
No, thanks, Crystal. And yeah, thank you everyone for joining me on this. And just like to close off, Umuyalanga is just one project. So I know there are many engineers on this call, and surely in time we will be developing multiple virtual power plant projects across South Africa. That is our hope. So yeah, thanks Crystal, and thanks everyone.
Thanks, Omera. I'd like to remind our attendees to please download our KZN conference invite, as well as the What Now magazine. And thank you for your attendance and for joining us this afternoon. I'd like to now hand over back to Minx. Thank you, Minx.
Thank you very much, Crystal and Omera, for a very, very insightful presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, just for all those of you that ask for Omera's presentation, please email webinars@saiee.org.za, and I will send you the PDF of her presentation. And be also patient. We will be applying for CPD validation for this webinar, but with all these upcoming public holidays, it might take a bit longer, but just be on the lookout for the email when we release the certificates. Thank you everyone for your attendance, and please have a good evening. Goodbye.